Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. This is a product photograph of a book on the table. And if you want, we could start with this book, with this image, or we can stop with the next image. I don't know what the next image is. Up to you. You want this one for last or this one next?
We can do this one next, and then the next one is probably the most important one. So that's good. This is
Great.
easy. We don't even have to talk about it much. It is a picture of the new book, The Stress Illusion. That's the working, what do you call it, cover for it. And this is, I believe, has the tools. So what we're saying is, like, if you've heard from people before, it's like, well, you need to reinterpret that situation as not being, awful, right? Which I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really hard to do in the I'm not even sure that's always the best thing to do, because sometimes things just suck, right? And we need to honor that. And all this stuff. I think this book is going to be for those people who are listening to all the podcasts, who are reading all the books. And when they get into the heat of the day and they're in the moment, they're like, oh yeah, I know I was supposed to do that thing, but I didn't do it. How do you actually make it practical? That's what the methodology, the stress illusion methodology, is all about. It's about how do you more gracefully ride the survival stress, stop unnecessarily creating the destructive stress, which is the stuff that makes us feel overwhelmed and anxious and takes us out of our sweet spot of performance and profitability and productivity. And how do you harness more of the good stress, the stuff that makes you feel inspired and focused? And that stress design model is what that book is all about. So it'll come out in 2023. It's called The Stress Illusion. When it finally releases, I assure you it will be everywhere and available, but that is the picture of the book.
That's very exciting. So for the listener, what it is it's just a very straight on photo of, imagine a book on a gray, kind of grayish table. The book, the word stress is in yellow on top of basically a purple, violet. And the word illusion is kind of faded out. And why did you choose purple?
Because I told the designer it needed to be something that wasn't going to force me to redesign my entire company brand. It had to go on my website and not clash. So that was the first thing. And then when you actually look at the psychology of words, or like of color, wisdom is one of the... I didn't want something that was going to make you feel tranquil, because I think we need an intensity in our life. I didn't want something that was going to make you feel fired up, like red.
Yeah.
And the in between, the purple, if we could pull from it, that's what I went with. And it's also fairly neutral in terms of, it's not necessarily really feminine or not really masculine. It's just kind of in between, because I have a lot of men and women who are... and I think I'm pausing only to say and try to be inclusive, and people in between or somewhere else on the spectrum, right? Who I don't think purple is, it's not pink, it's not black, right? It matches the energy of the book. So that's why I went with purple. And, that might change by the time it gets out there. But if you put that cover on Amazon in a lineup, it pops.
It definitely does. It's very... it's very striking. I'm just kind of sitting in this notion of the stress illusion, right? Like, so how I operate and how I interpret the world is by, everything's symbolic and nothing is accidental. So in terms of how you help people, how you earn a living, because you said you're an entrepreneur, what service are you giving on top of, or if somebody's saying, oh, wait a second, Allison Graham sounds like the kind of person that fits my needs or interests, what kind of service do you offer to people?
So there are two lines of business. One is for the corporate market and one is for the individual. And the corporate is very traditional. You bring me in for a keynote. You're probably from there. We've get some interest from the team and some buy-in. Then they'll take me into a long-term training program and then into group coaching. And the individual level, it's a combination of those different things. So the books, the social media, I mean, there's tons of content there that people can just get together with. And the reason that I decided to put my entire methodology in the book is because I recognize the individual can't pay me what some huge corporation is going to pay me to come in and teach their topics X.
Right.
And thus the book lays out the entire framework and the foundation, like the entire methodology is going to be there. Like it'll be everything that, not everything, I mean, because obviously there's nuance.
Sure.
And so the book and then online courses are already available, and there will be a group component when the book launches that will be a part of it. I also offer a lift up every week, which is basically an email that will make you think or challenge some of your perceptions or just tell a story about what's going on in life. And that is, people can register for that on my website.
Okay, so in your presentation of the story, there's this, there's a character called the neurologist.
Yeah, Dr. Wrong.
Okay.
Dr. Wrong. Take that, buddy.
No. But it's just because they're like, well, in medicine or in the neurology, it's always like you're falling between a certain probabilistic or band of, most people in your situation would be X. So you kind of have to figure out how to become an outlier and say like, well, you know what, guess what? I'm not within that 80 or 90% of people who can't walk, who can't work, who whatever it is, right? Because that's the situation I was in.
Right.
So, where I'm dealing with a neurologist who's saying, well, maybe there's a possibility that you're never going to be able to hold a job or whatever it is, right?
But doctors like to give absolutes though. And doctors like to, oh yeah. Well, I don't know if it's an absolute, but they have a perception of how patients are going to interact and what the outcome is supposed to be for a patient.
Okay.
And like he was one of, and I'll have to go back and add it up. It was either 9 or 10 specialists that I had seen since the original surgery in 2 years, spanning 4 different hospitals.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Everybody was just pushing me everywhere because nobody could find an answer to fix me. And they all felt horrific because of the circumstances. It was like, here's this person who is living this life. This doctor goes in for what should have been a very routine surgery and gets maybe in over his head. I don't have any judgment towards him anymore. I think we all show up the day that we show up and we're aiming to do our absolute best. He wasn't like, let's see who I get on my table today so I can butcher them. Like that wasn't his intent.
Yeah, of course.
And so everybody had, from a medical perspective, I believe, was trying their best.
Mm-hmm.
What they failed, just like those original stress tests, is we fail to integrate into that calculation of how stressed you are.
Okay.
We base it on external factors. We don't base it on, it should have been, here are all the external factors. Now, let's figure out how resilient you are, how good you are at solving problems in life, and how much perspective and mindset you have to be able to ride this wave. And we'll delete that. And then there's your stress score. Right. Not, here's all this stuff, right?
Yeah. But okay, so you're one of the people who, by virtue of who you are, that is why we ended up meeting, because you're somebody who kind of went beyond the 90% of the people who've had what you've had would probably be like this. But you're that one person who the resilience and all these whatever fundamental elements that are inside you got you to be outside of that, which arguably was me. Like from after my accident, all my stuff, same, right? Now, how do you inspire that drive in a listener when you're talking to them to say, okay, look, all the different things that are stressors in your life that are making your life shitty, those are just conditions that you can push beyond or whatever. And this is the methodology that you can use, right? So how do you really speak to that?
So you have opened up so many different things that I was going to interrupt you a couple times, but I didn't want to. I want to see, where's he going to go with this?
I like to talk. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I love it. Okay. So first of all, you make it sound with the way that you said it. And I don't necessarily disagree, but I also do disagree. So we'll
disagree.
We'll is it okay?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not
for sure.
actually special. I'm not special in any way. I chose to believe that there was a possibility that the doctor was wrong.
Okay.
And the problem is that most of the time people walk into a doctor's office and the doctor says, you're going to be pain medication for the rest of the life. And somebody says, oh, okay, well, the doctor's smart. He or she knows what she's talking about. I guess I'm going to be on pain medication for the rest of my life. Yeah. Not knowing. Like, I remember going to a different hospital, and it was part of this acquired pain psychology group. So it was a group session. And I walk into the hospital and I'm like ready to go. I'm like, all right, people, let's talk strategies. What are we going to do here? And I'm like, so how, and it was my first day and they'd all been together for a while. And there were 12 of them all around the, the boardroom at the hospital where they put us in this one conference area and, those big rolly chairs. And I remember I was like this eager, 30, however, I would have probably been 34 at the time. And I looked at them and they'd had similar issues that I'd had. And some of the, like by the end of the conversation, they were yelling at me. Allison, you got to stop this nonsense. This is your life now. You're one of us.
Oh, okay.
You are never, the doctor told you you're going to be on pain medication. We've been on pain medication for 20 years. This is just how it goes. They were so defensive and so set in their victim mentality. And by the way, the psychologist who's running this group is sitting there allowing all of this to happen.
Sure.
And I'm like, no, but how do you guys go to work? They're like, no, we don't go to work anymore. We just been on, I'm like, yeah, they mentioned, I'm not doing that. First of all, I couldn't afford, I had too many things that I was doing, but I also had this sense of purpose. At the time I was teaching networking when the surgery happened. I'd started my training in speaking business in addition to being a columnist. And I was scared. You know what it was? It was fear. Okay. It was, what if this doctor is right and I'm going to choose not to believe him?
Yep.
But the system is not designed for that. The system is designed to take you into a direction of this is the medication, this is the thing. Yeah, it's a process. And there are too many of us to do it. So what I ultimately did, I found people who were living full lives. Like, I know executives at companies that if I named the names, you guys would know who they are, who have neuropathic pain right now and are running multi-billion-dollar companies. And you would never know what's happening. And they maybe have, one gentleman I know, he has one of the stimulators in his spine, right? I tried that, didn't work for me. But he's doing it. So when I purposely went out and I went to find the people, but the people who have pain and who are living their lives and still working are not necessarily talking about the pain. I mean, I do when we get into this, right? Like, they aren't necessarily, you wouldn't see them unless they're wearing the pain face. There are lots of us out there.
Okay. Well, you said pain face, and whenever I hear the word pain face, I think that's the signal to change to the next photo. Is that okay?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it. How long is your podcast? Are we over time? I'm sorry.
No. Listen, we're just going. We're just riffing, and I'm just learning. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.